What should you do if you have to give a speech in front of other people? So whether you're at school or even outside of school, this is going to apply and it's going to change your life, so pay attention. Number one, as always, is focus on your breathing. What happens whenever you're speaking in front of the class or speaking in front of just really anybody in general is you forget to breathe. Your breathing becomes shallow, you're not taking slow and steady breaths. And what happens? Your hands start getting clammy, you start lighting up like Rudolph, you start sweating, your brain starts going blank, you start stammering, and it creates this endless loop of just a negative feedback loop. That's going to make you even more nervous. You're going to get even more sweaty. So as long as you focus on your breathing, you're going to crush it. But I do have some other tips and tricks that I want you to implement that are going to just fantastically improve your speaking ability, specifically whenever you're in front of other people. But as long as you can focus on your breathing, don't try to speak too quickly, just breathe. Because you're going to be nervous. That's totally normal. You're going to be nervous, and it's actually just excitement. But in your mind, because you trained it, oh, I'm nervous, and you start getting all sweaty and you start messing up, breathe. Every time you feel that, that means that you are not breathing properly. So in through your nose, out of your mouth, nice, slow, deep breaths. Be calm and collected. Now, the next thing is to give yourself talking points. There's no problem with you having to look back at the presentation board, or maybe you've got a piece of paper in front of you. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't mess up in the sense of having it just be super complicated and like paragraphs of stuff. No, you don't need to do that. What you need is to give yourself bullet points. Bullet points, so make it nice and big, so make the font big. Space it out as well, that way it's easy to locate where you're at if you have to look up and speak. So it'll be like a couple sentences, boom, space, couple sentences, boom, space, and just do that. And that is going to give you talking points that's going to keep your mind on task. Because what's going to happen is you're in front of the class, and I know this has happened to you before. Once again, this applies to in school and outside of school. It could even be making a video such as I'm making for you right now. But what you do is you start breathing shallow, and then your brain starts going blank, and then you start getting more nervous, and then before long, guess what also happens? What happens is you forget your train of thought. So that's why you need to have bullet points that you can then freestyle over. Now, you can also have like a couple paragraphs, but make sure the font is big, make sure there's plenty of spaces. But I really, really recommend that you learn the material that you're talking about and then be able to freestyle off those bullet points. Because I know for me personally, if I have to read a script, back in the day, if I had to read a script in front of the class, it would make me even more nervous, which is what led me to, what about if I just learn the material and then I sit down and I just freestyle off the bullet points? And boom, that changed everything. So if you could focus on these two key things, specifically your breathing, you're going to crush it, bro. So make sure you're breathing nice and deeply. And then number two is give yourself talking points. It's literally just bullet points. Make the font big and make sure that there's plenty of spaces and all that so you don't lose your train of thought and you're like, oh, what do I do next? So do this, understand this, and prosper.